We've come across another city-state and they gave us 15 gold, so that's nice, but it looks like we might be boxed in by more mountains, so we'll go this way. That's something that I should note. Constantinople has just demanded cotton. It means if you come across cotton and connect it up, that the city will go to something called a We Love the King Day, and basically what that means is that the city will grow more quickly for a while. Have a sip of my water right there. This is a dead end by the looks of it. Warsaw has access to gold, so that's pretty good for them. But I can't explore much more that way, so it looks like I have to come back. For a Pangaea map, this has had a hell of a lot of mountains in it. I didn't click specifically for mountains, so don't know what's going on there. There's a lot of tundra as well. I mean, the last Pangaea map I was on, there was literally one layer thick of Pangaea almost all the way around the main island, and literally that was it. In places here, there's look, this silver there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, possibly 8 layers thick of tundra. That is shocking, which means I won't want to expand in that direction. Oh, we've actually expanded to the power tile. I'm going to sacrifice a gold for another food to make sure we get our population boost as soon as possible. The more people you have, the more tiles you can work, but the less happiness you'll generally have, because each population point lowers your happiness by 1. There are more barbarians there. On a Pangaea map you tend to get a lot of barbarians compared to other types. And we've just got writing. Now what I tend to do is go for bronze working straight after, because after you've got writing you're going to need some military protection after you've tried to build the Great Library, so the best way to do that is to get spears. There is cotton there, so our next city could go down here to collect the cotton up. That is a potential thing to do. Right, Constantinople's now up to 4, but I really don't have a single high production tile. I've got literally one that has 1 hammer and one more that has 1 hammer. So I'm at a bit of a loss as to what to do here. I'm going to have to sacrifice a nice tile for our production, simply because if I'm going to get round to building the Great Library I need to have as much production as possible, and this does not look like a very good location for production. I'm hoping that either this tile, that tile or that tile is being checked next, but unfortunately it isn't, it's the silver. I could arguably buy a tile, but the problem with that is that really it's not worth it right now, because I've got 3 single production tiles, so buying another one I wouldn't probably use it, is a waste of money. And you really can't waste your money early in this game, because I will put a lot of money on it that a empire attacks me out of the middle of nowhere early on, and you need the money to buy military units to back you up. So I would put big money on it happening. So we're now going to go for the Great Library. Now we've got some faith cooking up. It's going to take a ridiculously long 93 turns. I'm going to show you quickly in a minute how to make that lower. We've met a new person, Harold Bluetooth of Denmark, who is quite, well, from experience he's all over the place, frankly. So I'm going to ignore that right now. I'll show you how we can interact further with empires when we get on in the game a bit, because right now you can't do a lot with them. This part of the map has a lot of silver in it. Unfortunately I already have silver, so I'm probably not going to prioritise settling down there very quickly. I also have a sneaking suspicion that there'll probably be somebody down here. I can't put any guarantees on that obviously, but that would be my guess. It's quite a big series of rivers going on here though, so that's good. Notice how tiles next to rivers have an extra gold next to them. If you happen to have an empire based around rivers, you tend to be a lot wealthier. I found another barbarian encampment. and we've got our silver there. What's the next tile it's going to get? We've met the guy I really don't like. Hiawatha is, historically from my experience, a massive city spammer. He likes to place a lot of cities and ruin your day by suffocating you with all the cities that they've parked. We can get this called the aristocracy. That makes building wonders a lot quicker. As you can see, our Great Library now only takes 75 turns. That's still quite a long time, but it's much less time than 90 odd or whatever it was. I'm just starting to wonder where on earth the other empires are. I found Sweden on the map, but where anybody else is I genuinely don't know yet. That's what I thought, there'd be somebody down here, but at the moment I've not spotted anybody down here. We've got mining. Still haven't met anybody else in terms of landmass. There's Isabella of Spain. In Civilization 4 she was an absolute nut job when it came to religion, and there is her empire. So I told you there's somebody here. It wasn't who I thought it was, but there was somebody. I believe there's a city-state down here is what I didn't see before. Yeah, I think there's a city-state there that I didn't meet because I didn't see them. But Spain's the one down there, which means I can't settle cities too close to her unless I, intentionally try and piss her off, which I wouldn't recommend as a good thing to do, especially early game. And I can't settle right now anyway. I don't have the required. I don't have the settler, and settlers take a long time to build, so it could be a while before we get one. I found yet another barbarian encampment. You may be wondering why I'm ignoring them right now. It is much better for me to research the land around me. Just found another city-state. Cahokia, or however you pronounce that. I have no idea where that actually is, to be honest, in real life. And that is coming from a human geography student, so bit embarrassing. But never mind. This is the reason to get writing early, is that you can accept embassies with one another. By doing that you can now find out where their capitals are. So I now know, for example, that Onondaga is here. Quite a long way away from me, luckily. All this bad terrain makes vision quite poor. For example, you've got to think from a real life perspective. You're not going to be able to see a forest behind another forest, are you? We are also one of the joint lowest on science. I wouldn't worry too much about that right now, because the technologies that I have gone for so far are the more difficult ones. The further along the tech tree that you go, the harder the things are to research, as you can notice. I mean, if I put this at the end, the last thing will take at the moment 4,479 turns. So obviously you have to do them in some sort of order, because all the technologies are interconnected in Civ 5, which wasn't the case in Civ 4. That is one of the main differences. If you want to get to the end of the tech tree, you have to literally research everything. You can't skip anything out. You can choose an order and prioritise, but you can't skip them out forever if you want to get to the end of the tech tree. I'm trying to drink a lot of water lately, just because I'm feeling under the weather a lot, and I'm thinking that if I try and just drink something healthy I won't feel as poor. That is my logic anyway. I don't know if it's going to be any good or not, but it should at least be healthier than all the caffeinated drinks I'd usually have. We've just met Mombasa, so that's worth noting. So unfortunately the terrain around here is mostly just crappy jungle and forest. Jungle comes into its own later on in the game. It right now is just a liability. It does provide defensive cover, but not a lot else. And to be honest, I don't really want to do much more scouting now. He's offering to be friends, and I'm going to say no right now. What happens if you become friends with the AI is basically the AI guilt trips you into giving your stuff away to them, If you say no, usually they denounce you, which gives you a diplomatic penalty with all the other AIs. And basically everyone ends up hating you. A barbarian, as you can see here, has come close to me. And what I did was shoot it with the city. Units in this game all have 100 HP. And that attack did 21. So it's going to be a 5-hit kill if he stays on like a foresty terrain. Notice how he's now moved onto a terrain that has no forest on it. And I did 28 with the city. Forest, hills, jungle all give good defensive cover. Plains and marshes and things like that do not give defensive cover, so you'll take more damage if you're on those. There is a degree of randomness in how much damage you do, but it's not. I mean, some games I'm thinking of Battle of Westnorth, which is sort of a similar type of game to a degree, where it's basically a dice roll on how well you hit things, despite the fact that, you know, there are predetermined amounts of damage going on. It isn't quite that extreme. You don't hit the damage it says every single time, but you tend to hit pretty close to the mark. I believe a city-state, yeah, there's a city-state quest there. It was to get rid of that encampment. If you get rid of that encampment for them, they will give you influence, and that will mean you can benefit from them. What I'm going to do is pledge to protect them, because their relationship with me will slowly rise up to 10, and by doing that and then succeeding in the task they asked me to do, their rating will go up higher with me, and that means I can benefit from their happiness. This is where Genghis Khan is, by the way. He's reasonably close to me, but not too close. I wouldn't be surprised if there was somebody else just there, or just in that gap I missed, to be honest. I'm just disappointed by all the terrain here. That is dire. We now have bronze working. We're taking along at a reasonable pace. So if we go back to the start of the tech tree, I don't want to research iron yet, because I'm hoping the Great Library will do that for me. What I'm likely to do is based on what I have around me. Silver requires mine, we've got that. Furs, I believe, require trapping. So we're going to go to trapping. Just so that when we're ready we can get that. You need as animal husbandry to turn the cows into a pasture, but I won't be doing that for a while yet, so I'm not going to worry about that. I'm probably going to have to build to the left though. Unfortunately, Stockholm is really close to all those truffles, so that is a bit of a disaster. There is more truffles down here if I can't build there, so at least there's some there. I'm tempted though. 1, 2, 3, 4, it'd have to be at least there. I probably wouldn't put it there. I'd probably put it possibly here, because I might want it on the sea, by the sea, on the coast, because on the coast you can make use of the water tiles. I have no idea yet though whether that is a sea or it could possibly be a lake. Yep, it's told me it's a lake. You can see it in the bottom right corner there, so that means that it's not going to be like an expansive ocean per se. I'm actually going to leave him there to attack that scout, just to humour value more than anything else. And now he's settling, trying to get on my terrain, so nope, rejected, bye bye. The tundra, it's a shame because you always end up with nice things on tundra, usually fur and deer, but even like the deer there, that's just a regular grass tile effectively. I mean, if you get it on a forest like that, you can have like a power tile, but on there it's pretty underwhelming. And if you go up here, snow has literally no benefit. The only reason I'm going up here is to get that city-state quest. The influence would be very handy right now. I bet we find nothing of note up here. We might find ancient ruins, because generally speaking empires don't check up here as often for obvious reasons. and this is ice. Literally only submarines later on in the game could even go through this terrain, and we took a pummeling from that attack because that unit is fortified and by default has higher defense because it is fortified. We're going to fortify to heal ourselves some health. We'll check our location while we're at it, and there's not a lot going on there, so I'm still weighing up in my head whether it's worth trying to do that. The reason it's more tempting is because if I don't put a city there and he does, that makes my capital a juicy target. What I tend to like doing is putting cities around my capital to protect it. But unfortunately the way this map has been laid out, that might be quite difficult, especially up here. I might be able to put a city here maybe, because these tiles are okay, but I'm definitely not going to put a city up here. And if I can't get a city there, I will get one here and probably one here, and I would imagine one here. So those three sides would be reasonably protected, but this bit and up there not so much. Unfortunately in the early game, just attacking the barbarians and losing to them is really the only way to go. They will generally protect themselves, so they won't attack back because they're protecting the encampment. And if you attack enough, you get experience, and that means you can get a promotion. And I'm going to pick Shock 1. I can have a choice between healing 50 HP, having a better attack in the rough terrain, or a better attack in the open terrain. I am going to pick the open terrain, mainly because I am in the open terrain. It's good to have a variety of units, having a variety of upgrade paths, just for sake of versatility. We've just got unlocked animal husbandry, which means we can see horses. For example, there are 4 horses there. Horses can make quite good tiles too. That should have been switched to 1 food, 2 hammer, 1 gold. There's horses there too, which makes that plot even more tempting. Generally speaking, you find horses on plains and grass. You don't find them on hills, you don't find them in tundra. Horses are quite picky and will go for the nicest terrain. They do that in real life because obviously they like to graze on nice terrain. They're not like sheep, for example. Sheep you will frequently find like here on hills, much like in real life. It is quite realistic, this game, by game standards, and it's not just realistic in the way that it looks quite realistic, it actually is quite realistic to play. So we're temporarily allies now with Antwerp. It will literally last for 1 turn because we now have 60 influence with them, and that's the threshold for ally. It'll drop down to friends almost instantly, but it doesn't really matter at this stage. It just means I can't see what Antwerp is doing. We're going to ignore that galley. Galleys are barbarian only units. Proper empires can't make galleys. They're obsolete to even the first naval unit that a proper empire can make. We've actually gone past the 100 turn mark, which is where I was expecting to have a break. I'm just going to choose. You can either have the Republic or the citizenship, and I am probably going to go for the Republic right now. The reason being that the other one gives you a worker unit, but the worker unit can't defend against barbs, and we're having a lot of them near us, so I don't want to risk losing it and losing the entire benefit. We now have another hammer, so that will build the wonder more quickly, so I think that's the better thing to do. Anyway, I'm going to have a break, I think, anyway. Get another drink, maybe.
If you enjoyed the video you've just seen, please join my Facebook group and follow me on Twitter for the latest news.